Hi guys, Mookduke here, and if you're a fan of the melee genre, I bet you are happy to know that last Friday Mobius finally dropped their long-awaited playtest. In this video, I'm going to give a slight breakdown of the playtest and tell you some of my first impressions. Keep in mind that this is the first public alpha session and the game is still in an extremely early state, so consider this more of a sneak peek than a full review. If you don't know what Mobius is, it's an FPM game developed by the independent studio Ascend Games. Taking inspiration from the Chivalry and Mordhau games, Mobius is looking to enter the battlefield with a more competitive edge. Instead of big team battles, Mobius puts focus on an intense 5v5 last team standing type game mode, with combat I'd say is most similar to Mordhau or even the original Civ 1. However, there are a lot of changes to how fighting works, and these are introduced in a video voiced by Rongwat, the CEO of Ascend Games and project lead of Mobius when you first open the game. I won't go through it all because you'll end up watching it, but essentially the combat places a significant emphasis on swing manipulation, utilising drags and accels. Despite being somewhat controversial in the genre, in this game it's a feature, not an exploit, meaning that the fighting is very skill based with a high skill ceiling. The time to kill is also notably higher than what you might be used to. Similar to Mordhau, all the binds are fully customizable with 4 types of main attacks: overs, unders, horizontals and stabs. Backswings are a thing, and there is full team damage, which adds an extra layer of complexity when navigating in a team fight. All your attacks can be combined into each other except for stab into stab, and they can also be feinted or morphed at any time, providing a lot of freedom to mix them up and psych out your opponents. I should also note in Mobius, morphs and feints are static inputs, meaning if you perform one of these moves, they will always occur at the same time during wind-up. There is no such thing as being able to early or late feint, allowing you to potentially steal initiative, as you should have better reactivity if you manage to read them. To block, Mobius features timed parry, but with a twist, as they have also introduced a new and incredibly satisfying deflect mechanic. Think of it as a perfect parry with a much smaller window. What sets deflect apart from parries is that they not only grant you stamina, but they also allow you to riposte your next attack without interruption. It's kind of like a harder Mordhau standard parry. Since there is no kick in this game, I personally chose to bind deflect to the F key, as this adjustment felt more natural in terms of timing and muscle memory, and it seems others think this is a good idea also. The last notable new feature comes with the exhaustion mechanic. When you run out of stamina, you become exhausted, and you are no longer able to feint or morph. The only thing you can really do is block with a deflect or perform what seems to be a very sluggish attack. While I'm not entirely sure if it's always 2 deflects, it appears that executing 2 deflects while exhausted will restore your stamina, allowing you to pull yourself back into the fight. Although be warned, if someone deflects you while you're exhausted, you will be stunned and not be able to do anything. So far, these changes seem to collectively contribute to Mobius standing out as unique and what will hopefully be a viable competitive addition to the melee genre. I should also quickly note that only the greatsword is available to use within this playtest, so I can't yet make any comments about any other weapons or how animations differ between them. Okay, now we've talked about combat, you may have been watching the clips on screen and are probably thinking, where is the art? But this playtest isn't about graphics, just raw gameplay. The graphics will come in time, and in a way it's kind of nice to play it in this super hot style and be able to see the custom animations the Ascend team have worked hard on in their purest form. Despite the lack of polished visuals, the playtest still has a few different maps on rotation and 2 different game modes to play, one being their staple LTS and the other a simple deathmatch server. Although the deathmatch servers were more like duel servers, which was honestly pretty great, and it was fun trying out some new mechanics, mainly the deflect feature, which became very addictive. Oh, and also trying to get out of the map by jump boosting. Can't really take Mordhau players anywhere, we'll always find a way to break things. And speaking of breaking things, halfway through my hour session, I figured out stabs are very OP as long as you're hugging your opponent. Again, remember it's still an alpha, so there is lots of fine tuning and I'm sure a lot of this will be refined, but that did not stop me from just mobbing anyone who got too close. I even managed to get Ring from the Ascend team with it while he was streaming. Eventually, players clocked onto my gambly plays and showed me that left overheads and some underhands also had a similar effect. I'm sure these will be worked on too. So, as far as my impressions go on this very fresh introduction of a game and purely looking at this as a combat test, I'm definitely impressed, and I think the general player feedback is it's good too. Hell, even Crush seemed to be enjoying it. The combat felt mostly good and fairly intuitive, and in my opinion already 10 times better than Renown's public test. I loved using the deflect mechanic, which I think will quickly become an addiction, like with Chambers. I like that they're more punishable if you miss, and more profitable when you don't. Not to mention that nice hit of dopamine and golden glow. I can see many try-hard deflect gods incoming. Their rollback netcode seems promising, allowing for higher ping players to have a better chance of survival, and aside from a few hiccups at the start, Oh, and one cheater in my first game.
If someone's actually just fucking cheating. But actually, I haven't seen enough.
There you go.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay.
The servers ran fairly smoothly without too much teleporting or noticeable lag spikes. And it's cool that this is already implemented from the get-go. I even briefly tried a US server and it was definitely playable at my 80+ ping. I also like that the game has a focus on its dedicated LTS mode with the competitive nature, hopefully leading to some intense ranked battles that I already cannot wait for. I was quite surprised that these servers weren't really filling up though, and at the times I played it seemed like DM was more favourable, which is a shame as I would have liked to play it a lot more. Not so much related to the game itself, but like on the renowned playtest, it was awesome to see names from both Mordhau games, and just goes to show that we're all just looking for the new one to come along, and Mob seems like it could definitely find its place on the board, with its fun and addictive short games that have the potential to hook players into the melee experience. Also, quick shout out to Wheeze, I hope I've got that right, for the hilarious jump sound. Please leave that in the game for the full release. Whoop. As for the bad, nothing was really that bad. Sure, I know there are unreadable attacks and some broken swings, but this is really a non-issue at the moment. As this game wants to be taken seriously within the comp scene, what else are playtests for other than for the devs to, you know, test and make necessary fixes before release much further down the line? That being said, I can't really give my first impressions without also mentioning the most prominent issues I faced. Firstly, I wasn't sure if it was just me triggering a lockout window, but it felt that there were frequent input delays, especially for attacks on the left side.
For a second I got some really big delayed inputs then.
Sometimes it even seemed they didn't register at all. This was less of a problem after parrying, but sometimes I could be mashing the button and it still seemed to just not register. As well as this, when block is held, you seem to continuously end up parrying. It's not so much a problem, but I would rather it only registers once in case of any animation overlap, and the parry window lockout seems very long, affecting the flow of combat and countering. A few of us also noticed that there could be potential issues with attack alignment for different sides. Probably not the best example to showcase this, but if I look directly ahead with my back against the wall and cue underhands, the right side will hit and the left side does not, even if I turn slightly into the left. I'm not sure this is intentional, but wondered if that could also be a contributing factor to the issues I had with left-sided strikes. I'm not a game dev though, so if anything I say is wrong, feel free to correct me and I'll see myself out. Lastly, there were a few bugs such as feints inputting without pressing the button and death counters showing higher than the amount of rounds played, but I'm not going to dwell on these as I know it will probably be fixed. In conclusion, this playtest has been an interesting showcase and a lot of addictive fun that was easy to get into and be able to play well. I'm not sure how easy it will be for new players to get into, but they have said this game is supposedly targeted towards mid-tier gold, so hopefully they'll be able to learn without too much trouble. I'm still excited to see where the Ascend team end up taking this and wish them not only the best of luck with the rest of development, but also a huge congratulations for finally getting the alpha out. Oh, and if anyone from Ascend is watching this, if you need someone to do any voice lines on release, just, hit me up. If not, custom skin maybe? Other than waiting for them to add art and more classes or weapons, I'm satisfied with what we've seen so far and think their team is onto a winner. So I'm gonna just let them cook and see what they have in store before making too swift a judgment. If I could ask them for anything to be added, I'd love to see some very basic emotes, similar to Flourish or Weapon Salute from Mordhau. They don't necessarily need as many, but I just think it allows for nicer interaction, mainly when dueling. If not emotes, then I'd settle for a commend button like Shiv 2 has to give props after a good fight. Anyway guys, this video is MOBA. I hope you enjoyed this rundown of my first few hours with Mobius. If you did, please hit that like and subscribe button and show some love to the Ascend team in their Discord or by requesting access and filling out those servers. I can't wait to see how this game turns out on full release. Take care and keep nuking them dukes.